In this video, I'm going to be going over this trappy Reese bass sound made in Sytrus here and showing you how to make it. It's quite simple, and it's a sound that you hear pretty often in a lot of music, and sounds like this. So it's just that bass sort of sound, and so let's get into making it. Okay, so we're here in the same project file, and I'm just going to go ahead and load up an initialize preset and get started making this patch from scratch. So default preset, and we should just have, a sine wave, and we're going to turn this into that Reese bass. So the first thing I'd like to do is go into the modulation matrix here and throw operators 1, 2, and 3 into filter 1, and then make filter 1 go to output. And you want to take operator 1 off of output as well. So this is what the mod matrix should look like at this point on FM, which I guess, I don't know if that really matters, but because we don't do any FM actually in here, it's just routing like subtractive. So 1, 2, and 3 into filter 1, and then filter 1 output. So take those 3 operators, and you're going to want to make all of them saw waves. So you can just right click here on the waveform view and do saw, or you can do this, whatever you prefer. And now you should have a sound something like this. It just sounds like saw waves. So here's where you're going to make it start to take shape as the sound. You're going to want to detune these operators from each other. So we're going to leave operator 1 at 2 on the frequency ratio right here. Set operator 2 down maybe by 200 on here, so yeah, down 200. You start to hear a little bit of that detuning sort of sound, and operator 3 will tune it up by 200. So sounds pretty crazy right now, but there's one important step here, and on 2 and 3, the ones that you actually detuned, you'll find this phase knob here, and you're going to want to put these at different values. So I typically do phase 50 on operator 2 and 100 on operator 3. So that makes it sound a bit smoother and not, quite as sounding like it's repeating and the phasing is doing whatever. So, I mean, you could make this not quite 100 and it'd probably be a little bit better. But if this plays really low, you can see it's definitely starting to take shape. So next we want to go into filter 1. And we're going to set it as a Lime low pass. Really any low pass filter, I guess, would work. You could use the state variable, just whatever. I like to just make sure it's on low pass here. And bring the cutoff to around 30%, but maybe 28. Let's just play a low bass. And really this is going to depend on your song, so sometimes you may not need to do this, but I'll do it around 20%. And that's sort of the sound, but we want to do a couple things in the mixer to really give it its final form. That did a bit too much cutting, I think. Let's listen to with the song in the current state. So let's do a little bit more. Usually the first thing I'm going to want to do is put on a limiter, because if you look at the waveform, there's a lot of dynamics there, and I guess it really doesn't need to be. So we'll just bring the ceiling down. Actually, we need to be doing it based on the velocity of the actual pattern. So we'll play the pattern and take a look. Yeah, so we'll just bring our ceiling here down on the limiter. Like that, give it a more uniform volume, so it's not throwing your bass levels everywhere. Next, we'll want to throw in a little bit of reverb. This is something you can just mess with, get how you like. It just gives it more space, but we want to make sure we throw on a low cut, maybe like around 120 hertz, just because you don't really want to reverb the actual, subby sort of bass actual part of the sound. That's going to get muddy really quickly. So we'll throw in a low cut, like around 120, 130 hertz. And throw the size up a bit. decay down. Something like that. You can mess with these levels if you want. Maybe throw in a little, stereo separation if you want. But really, that's about it. I would throw in another limiter for side chaining, but I'm not going to go into that just because I'm not playing the entire track here. So let's take a listen. So that's the sort of basic sound. You can definitely mess around with stuff in this if you'd like, maybe change the waveforms around a little bit. Sometimes I make them not quite a saw wave, but down a bit here, like stretching the triangle wave to almost a saw wave, but not quite, just to give it a rounder sound. Mess with the filter. You could distort it afterwards. Lots of things you could do with this, but it's a good bass sound and a good bass to add on to and change as you like. So I hope that helped.